COP28, Professor Saleemul Dialogue. Join us on the Climate Channel's South Asian Environment Dialogue pre-COP Analysis. The talk show will focus and provide insights into the upcoming UN Climate Change Conference in Dubai from November 30th to December 12, 2023. Jayanta Basu is discussing with prominent experts. Watch Climate Channel.
Welcome to Destination COP28, Dr. Saleemul Dialogue. We all know that COP28, the COP at Dubai, is going to start soon. And across the world, we are all kind of keeping our finger crossed that what is going to happen in COP. Now, leading to the COP, Climate TV channel has set up a panel discussion, I'd say a series of discussions. And this discussion is named after Dr. Saleemul. We all know that very unfortunately, we have lost one of the frontier climate scientists and experts in the world recently. So we thought that it may be prudent to show respect on him by naming this dialogue Dr. Saleemul Dialogue. And also the organization he had set up, ICAD, is a formal collaborator and partner with this program. And today's program, in each of this program, we are discussing on one of the key issues concerning the COP. And today we are going to discuss about the Bangladesh position. Bangladesh, a very, very important country in the global south, in South Asia, one of the most vulnerable country, another country where adaptation and other measures are being talked about globally. So very important to know what Bangladesh wants to have in COP, what's their kind of expectation from the COP. And I have a person with me who is perhaps best fitted, one of the best fitted to talk about the Bangladesh position, Professor K Ahmad. Professor Ahmad is an economist in Dhaka University and also a climate expert. And I think he has been part of the negotiation team of Bangladesh for a long, long time. It's such a pleasure and privilege to host you, Professor Ahmad. It's great to see you after a while.
Thank you very much.
Professor Ahmed, before I go to very specifically to Bangladesh position, and I know you were part of various pre-COP meetings being held in Bangladesh. First, I would like to know, because I think you, Professor Hawke, have all worked for a long, long time side by side. How you feel this void being created by the loss of Saleemul Haq, and what's your personal take on that?
Saleemul Haq and I, we have been working together for a long time, as you say. All of a sudden, he passed away. I was very surprised and shocked. And I didn't know that he was suffering at all. He always looked healthy and working hard within the country and outside. But all of a sudden, one fine morning, very early morning, I learned that he had passed away. He was, as you said, one of the very brilliant climate scientists. And one of the things he did is he could express himself in a very in a few words, if I may say. In few words, he can express a lot. So that's one of the qualities many of us like. And he has always been working very hard in ICAD and in IID in the UK, and also in various international conferences. And I have always found him focused, very focused on the issues. And one of the very big concerns of his was loss and damage in
absolutely.
Yes.
So I hope that Professor Hawke's legacy will be continued, and the organization he has set up.
I pay my respect to his departed soul. And
absolutely, I think we all kind of will be missing as well. He has been one of the familiar figure in the COP, and whenever we used to visit COP, one of the first person we used to meet Professor Hawke there. So definitely we'll be missing this familiar figure this year. Now, coming to the agenda, let us start with the point that you have several pre-COP meetings. And I find this time for a change, perhaps, that Bangladesh, in fact, India has not done that much. the amount of pre-COP interaction that you have from various sectors is very, very interesting. It looks very inclusive. So what's Bangladesh expectation from the COP? What do you feel? As a governmental side, as a country-wise, what's Bangladesh expectation?
Yes. Let me first make the point, which you did. The Bangladesh is one of the most vulnerable countries in the world to climate change. And this year, we have had three cyclones already. One in May, one in October, one in November. Another is building up in the Bay of Bengal. There was flood also, and rainlessness and intensive rains. All other. And it's very hot, still very hot. It's not the temperature is not subsiding at all. So the country is going from bad to worse. Now, we have discussed all these issues, what Bangladesh is suffering from, and how Bangladesh is tackling the problems by itself, and how the international community is providing a helping hand, if at all. So we have discussed all of those. So in this COP, the most important thing that probably those who will participate in the discussions will focus on the GST, global stock take. And that covers more or less every aspect that we discuss. Mitigation, adaptation, loss and damage, means of implementation, which means finance, technology, and capacity building, international cooperation, and also the framework that was provided by the Paris Agreement of mitigation, how far it is going to help us reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, and therefore global warming, bringing global warming within reasonable limits. So those will be discussed, and Bangladesh will focus. Bangladesh has prepared quite well on these various issues and how they relate to Bangladesh. So this is one of the major things that they will focus on. But then we can pick piece by piece. First of all, it's mitigation.
Right.
Mitigation, this was the mandate of UNFCCC first. There was nothing else but mitigation. And when the COP started in 1995, mitigation was discussed. And it continued to be discussed up to 2006. But there was little progress at that time as well. But then we found that because of the changing climate, there were impacts. And impacts were increasing in various countries. Sufferings were spreading. So the adaptation issue came up. And in 2007, adaptation was included. And necessarily, financing had to come, and capacity building, as well as technology transfer, means of implementation. So all those came in. And later on, loss and damage was included. So
just to interrupt you, because you just mentioned loss and damage, perhaps you was going to elaborate on that. The loss and damage finance facility was a very important and key agenda last year. In fact, the COP was almost on verge of breaking down on loss and damage finance facility, and ultimately the developed countries had to kind of accept that. But this year, there's a lot of expectation on the operationalization of loss and damage funding. So, any Bangladesh position on that?
Bangladesh will focus on the Warsaw framework that's being promoted, and also try to push now the World Bank has been given the responsibility of the stewarding this thing. You see, essentially here we need financing of the loss and damage. But then before that, what we have discussed here, how do you, what is the attribution issue? There is a natural disaster. How do you estimate what are the losses? There has to be an agreement by the country and the international community. There has to be an agreement of the amount of losses and damages. And then attribution issue, whether it is climate change related or not. Everything is not climate change. So I think it's a long drawn out thing. we discussed, our team will focus on this. They will make our points, but we realize that it's not going to be easy. In fact, the climate financing, we have not been able to yet define what climate finance means, and the promises made but not kept. And this is a new issue, a new area where the Western world, they were not very keen initially, but they were forced as a matter of fact to accept this. But as a matter of fact, I think they can use it now to downgrade adaptation funding as a matter. Yeah, that's what I think. This will be negotiated, this will be upfront, and everybody will be concerned.
But Professor Ahmed, you mentioned about this finance thing. I remember in the last G20 major meeting in Delhi, all the G20 leaders agreed that to kind of implement the NDCs, at least $5.9 trillion are required. So that's the figure, is nothing unofficial about it. It's an official figure. So if you tell that figure, then the countries like Bangladesh and vulnerable countries, they are quite legitimately demand that amount. So how strongly Bangladesh is going to pitch in the demand for finance support? For example, Bangladesh is a country known for adaptation, but this adaptation funding is very low compared to mitigation. So what are the positions Bangladesh is going to take on those?
We'll take this very seriously, and we'll demand, of course. But you say any one country cannot do much, so we'll have to work with others. As you know, the LDCs, the G7 and G77 in China, and also perhaps a regional grouping. We'll have to work with all of them. And it is not only for Bangladesh. I think the adaptation funding is necessary for many, all the vulnerable countries plus the developing countries and so on. And the funding is not available. It's less than, I have seen, it's all the funding that comes is 20%, some say, and even less. I have seen a figure, it's 10% only adaptation and less is mitigation.
Right.
That's one thing. And the amount of money available is minuscule, is small. 100 billion, they said in 2009, and now 2023, they are claiming that they pay 80 billion a year or even more. But we know the other estimations by Oxfam and others. It's 15 to 20, 22 billion, nothing more than that. So
do you expect this war? Do you expect this war? Sorry, because we are discussing finance. Do you expect these ongoing wars? We are having this Russia-Ukraine war before, and now this Israel-Hamas war all being going on. Do you see these wars having an impact more on the financial support expected to come from the developed countries?
It will, I'm sure. This will be raised because we are now constrained to do those things, and therefore we have no money for climate change.
Right,
it happened when the economy contracted. Not contracted. There were some problems within the economy. They always use that. When contraction happens, of course, that's a different issue. But when there was lower growth rate, and there are problems in trade, let's say, they use that as a reason not to fund climate change, because this, I think, the leaders of the developed world is not all that much important. Whatever they say, they are suffering, but their political position is completely different. One of the reasons I have found through my long association with this process is that the governments are for 5 years or 4 years in certain cases in the USA. So they have to think about the next election. And the groups that support them, they have to promote their interests. So there is the oil lobby, there is all these lobbies. Therefore, they cannot, even if they make promises, even if they realize that this needs to be done, they cannot do it. For example, Obama promised $3 billion to GCF. He paid $1 billion, and Trump came in and he withdrew. And then Biden came in and he said he would pay the remaining $2 billion. But then now he's about to finish his first term, and this has not been paid. And in Europe, there are economic problems, and therefore they are not also paying. So money is not coming through, even for the activities that we agreed would be funded, agreed many years ago. So that's the position, and I am not very sure. Although Bangladesh will insist that adaptation funding be raised, and climate funding as a whole, particularly adaptation funding, we need, and many other countries, all the vulnerable countries plus the other developing countries, they are suffering. Like India, you have your problems in the coastal belts. Therefore, that funding will be insisted on. But I'm not sure.
So you're not very